Have you ever felt like God was leading you down a path only to have everything fall apart, leaving you questioning His plan? In this episode, I'm opening up about my unexpected pregnancy, the heartbreak of my miscarriage, and how that pain completely redirected my life and career. I'll share why I'm rebranding this podcast and what's to come as we dive deeper into faith, fertility, and the journey of conceiving after a vasectomy reversal. If you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or wondering, why me? I invite you to join me as we explore how trusting God through our struggles can bring unexpected strength, new beginnings, and the hope you've been searching for. Welcome to Rad Mom Revival, the podcast for Christian moms seeking biblically based guidance for thriving through every stage of motherhood, from fertility to postpartum and beyond. I'm your host, Susan Gladstein, aka the Metabolism Maven, and as a mom of 6, I totally get it. The never-ending to-do list, the exhaustion, and that nagging mom guilt that comes anytime you try to take care of yourself. I've been there. There is a better way, and I'm here with some mom hacks that are gonna rock your world. Whether you're trying to start a family, get back in shape after having a baby, or finally losing that baby weight, even if your baby is getting their driver's license, I'm here to help. On this podcast, we dive deep into preparing your body for conception, navigating postpartum recovery, and creating a healthy lifestyle that your kids and grandkids will thank you for. If you're ready to have so much energy that your kids say, "Mom, you need to chill," then you've found your tribe. So grab your headphones and that never-ending pile of laundry, and let's get started. It's time for Rad Mom Revival. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got some exciting news that I can't wait to share. Next week, I'm launching a newly rebranded podcast called Conceiving After Vasectomy Reversal. I know, it's a big shift, but trust me, this is exactly where God's been leading me, and I'm so excited to bring you even more real-life stories, practical advice, and faith-based encouragement. To celebrate the launch, I'm giving away something really special. I'm putting together a Fertility Wellness Bundle, and it's really just a curated collection of my favorite fertility-boosting goodies. We're talking high-quality supplements, stress relief tools, and a whole lot of faith-based inspiration to support you on your journey to the baby you've been praying for. So here's how you can be part of it. Leave me a written review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts. If you don't have an Apple device, get creative, borrow a friend's phone, swipe your kid's iPad, kindly ask your barista, it all counts. Take a screenshot of your review and share it in your Instagram stories. Don't forget to tag me at Conceiving After VR so I know that you've entered. Want some bonus entries? Share a quick video in your stories about why you're excited for the new podcast and tag me. The winner will be announced on October 14th in my Instagram stories. So let's celebrate, spread the word, and dive into this new chapter together. All right, let's jump into today's episode. I've been wrestling with this episode for a few weeks now. God keeps nudging me to lean in, spill it all, but I'm going to be honest. This is hard. There's only a handful of people who even know about this journey, and I'm probably going to cry as I share it with you today. Have you ever felt like God was leading you down a path only to be left feeling crushed when things didn't go the way you'd hoped? That's exactly where I found myself. Earlier this year, I just started feeling off. I was having all these hormonal changes, gaining weight. Nothing I did seemed to work like it used to. My workouts, my eating habits. It was like my body had just changed overnight. So, of course, I dove deeper into learning more about hormones, and I mentally braced myself that I was going into perimenopause. My sweet husband looked at me in disbelief and said, "You're not that old." Bless his heart. So when my period didn't come, I thought, well, here it is. It's the start of perimenopause. Everything's just about to get out of whack. I don't know. Probably my mom's generation, it was like the end of the world, but I'd really spent all this time studying ways I was going to make it better. And I had just like embraced that this was where I was headed. But just to be safe, I decided to take a pregnancy test. I had one left over under the sink from 2020, and it was positive immediately. I stood there in absolute shock, staring at those two pink lines, and I cried. This was not part of my plan. People always asked us, if we'd have more kids after Emma was born, especially since there's such a big age gap between her and our older kids. But I always said no. I mean, I honestly felt complete. My husband would probably disagree with that, but I felt like our blended family of 6 was perfect now that we had our little miracle baby that I had spent years and years longing for. And here I was, staring at this positive test, tears running down my face, shouting in my heart, "Why, God?" Honestly, I was even a little mad at my husband. I had so much coming up, my retreat in Costa Rica, my military retirement, and this news felt like an overwhelming burden. I'd just come off of a year of working 15, 16-hour days, and I promised myself that in 2024, I'd find more balance. And now this? But as the weeks passed, something inside me shifted, and I started to just get excited. I found myself daydreaming about life with a new baby. I mean, after all, a few years ago, I had this thing where I wanted to be a kid lady, which is kind of like a cat lady, but with kids. And I just wanted to like adopt and love on all these kids. So I teamed up with Compassion International and quote unquote, like adopted. That's not really the word, but I have all these pen pals with these kids like in Colombia and Africa. But I digress. I really started planning and imagining our future, and I realized that my heart had completely changed about this baby. I was actually looking forward to this new chapter that God had unexpectedly placed in front of me. When I went to Costa Rica for my retreat, I felt incredible. I didn't have morning sickness, which that was one of this like biggest concerns that I had. Like, I don't want to go there feeling sick and tired. I need to be on my A game. So I kind of just felt like God was giving me like this supernatural break. And just before I left, I scheduled an OB appointment for right when I got back. And it was going to line up with my 9-week mark. And I was nervous, but also becoming more and more excited. I thought about everything that we didn't get to do during my pregnancy with Emma due to the chaos of COVID. I even started thinking about homeschooling both Emma and this new baby and imagining how our lives are going to change for the better. When I walked into the doctor's office, I was met with this rush of mixed emotions. I had hope and fear, uncertainty. And the doctor started the ultrasound, and since the screen was turned, I couldn't really see anything. So I was just like studying her face. It's really expressionless, and maybe that's just how she is. And I waited for what seemed like forever for her to give me some kind of feedback. And she finally said, "You may not be as far along as you think. The baby is measuring at 5 weeks, and I'm not detecting a heartbeat." In that moment, it felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. I just knew, deep down, I knew it was over. The baby that I didn't think that I wanted had become the baby that I realized I needed so much. I immediately drove to the fire station where my husband was working, and I just lost it. Like, I was completely blindsided by the news. Like, I did not see it coming at all. I finally mustered up enough to just drive back home 45 minutes. My heart was broken. I was angry, devastated. And the next day, of course, I started spotting and I miscarried shortly after. I was a wreck. I couldn't stop crying. Yet, I had to put on a brave face because I had to go to work and pretend like everything was fine. None of my coworkers knew the pain I was carrying inside. And I felt all this anger towards God, very similarly to how I felt when I had to deploy in 2019 and give up my hopes and dreams of having a baby. But I cried out, why? Why give me this gift just to take it all away? And in the midst of my anguish, I heard God speak to me just as clearly as he had in my kitchen years ago when I was angry about my deployment. And this time he said, I know, I lost my son too. In that moment, I felt his presence wash over me. It was this clear reminder that he did understand my pain. He was right there with me, grieving alongside me. I think it's so easy to think that God isn't listening when we're hurting, but he is. Sometimes we can hear him the loudest in the moments of greatest pain. Our church had just finished a series on how to hear God, and the final message was about hearing him in our suffering, and it struck me to my core. For months before this, I'd felt this nudge from God to quit my full-time job, dive into homeschooling and my coaching business that honestly had kind of become an afterthought. But fear kept holding me back. When I found out I was pregnant, it really forced me to reconsider what I truly wanted: to coach, to homeschool Emma, and to truly be present for my family. I couldn't bear the thought of putting another baby in daycare, but I kept pushing God's timing aside. Every time I asked, when should I go? He'd say, June. Now this was in April, so I felt like that was not possible. And I came up with every excuse in the book to say why. Okay, Lord, just tell me when. He'd say June. Well, when that miscarriage came, through the heartache, his message became crystal clear. Trust me, that's the point. It was in this deep sorrow that I found the courage to step up to what he was calling me to do. And God used that heartbreaking experience to push me into a reality that I might not have embraced otherwise, at least not as quickly. But just like he had done during my long wait for Emma, he was using this pain to refine me and guide me. Slowly, my heart has healed. The anger and confusion actually helped me find this new determination to follow his plans. I did decide to leave my job, and I committed to homeschooling and coaching. And now, this new chapter of helping others on their fertility journey. It took a lot of faith, patience, and a ton of soul searching. But through the pain, I found a new path, and the path that I believe God had intended for me all along. So now that we've gotten emotional and cried, let's get excited. I'm excited to share what's next. I'm rebranding this podcast to Conceiving After Vasectomy Reversal. I feel a strong calling to walk with couples through their unique fertility journey, especially those navigating the challenges after vasectomy reversal. In this podcast, I'm going to share some real-life stories, some practical advice, and offer some faith-based encouragement so you never have to feel alone on this road to parenthood. If I'm being honest, quitting my job to start homeschooling and focusing on my business was not an easy decision. It actually required a ton of faith. Let me tell you, it has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. God's plans truly are better than anything we could ever ask or imagine. For the last year, he's really been urging me to support couples trying to conceive after a vasectomy reversal. I've seen so many people in the Facebook groups that I'm part of searching for advice, for hope, and I know firsthand how heartbreaking it is to be told everything looks normal, and yet you still can't conceive. I listened to a podcast recently that talked about David's journey to becoming king and how it mirrors our journey to motherhood. My friend Tori, who shared that message, said something that struck me. You're not in waiting, you're in preparation. And that perspective shift was everything that I needed. It made me realize that everything that I've been through has been preparing me for this new chapter, helping couples conceive post-vasectomy reversal. And I know this topic isn't going to resonate with everyone, but I hope that in sharing my story today, it's reminding you that God's got a plan. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels like you're just going in circles, my story isn't about loss. It's about finding hope in the most unexpected places and trusting His plan, no matter how difficult it might seem. If you're listening and you're in a place of pain or uncertainty, know this. You are not alone. God sees you, He hears you, and sometimes it's in our deepest heartbreak that He speaks the loudest. Trusting Him in these times can lead to strength and resilience you never knew you had. As I move forward in this podcast, I might be sharing more stories like this, stories of waiting, of faith, of finding hope on the unpredictable journey of conceiving after a vasectomy reversal. And I'll also be drawing from my expertise as a health coach, a functional nutrition specialist, and a fertility practitioner. My approach is holistic because I know firsthand how frustrating it is to hear, yeah, everything's normal, and you're still not getting the results that you've been praying for. So together, we'll work on moving from normal to optimal so you can nurture your body in the best way possible. I'm super excited for what's ahead, and I hope that in sharing this journey, it helps you find the encouragement wherever you are. If my story spoke to you, if you know someone who could use this support right now, please share this episode. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and trust that God is writing a beautiful story for you and your family. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Rad Mom Revival. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to reclaim your Rad Mom status. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor, subscribe and leave me a review and share it with your mom friends who desperately need some me time. I'd totally be honored if their me time was spent hiding in the bathroom listening to this podcast. I'd also love to get connected if we aren't already. Find me on social media and join our awesome tribe at radmomrevival.com. Until next time, keep embracing the chaos, finding joy in the little things, and living your best Rad Mom life.
Thanks for listening.